One of the theorists and developers of somatic psychology is Bonnie Bainbridge Cohen, and she developed body-mind centering. She has a wonderful quote that I think really exemplifies the principle of body psychotherapy that we work with and of somatic psychology in general. And the statement she says is that the mind is like the wind and the body is like the sand. And if you want to know which way the wind is blowing, you look at the sand. And that is a metaphor that we use in our work in training our students to not just look at the sand, not just look at the wind, but to see how the two are continually influencing and informing one another in a very intimate dance that's not about a permanent state of affairs, but about a changing relationship. And that if you want to change in one area, you can have change in the other, and change in this area can also support change in the opposite. And they really work together as a dialectic, not as oppositions. And we have 2 tracks in our department, which is somewhat unique from other departments. One track is more focused on body psychotherapy, and that track has to do with allowing people to drop more into the experience and the exploration of sensation. And we draw from a lot of the theoretical orientations of Peter Levine, of Pat Ogden, of Kekuni Minton, folks in the EMDR kind of world. So that's the body psychotherapy track. In the dance, the movement therapy track, there's a lot of overlap with the body psychotherapy track. It's just that we have more of a draw on the creative and the intuitive expression of sensation as it travels through the body. And I think that tradition draws more on the modern dance tradition. It draws more on the experiential movement tradition, draws more on the contact improvisation tradition. And there's a capacity and a quality in that of finding bigger movement and more expressive kind of style out in the world. Both concentrations have a similar training. So I'd say probably about 85% of the courses are together. So both concentrations learn the theoretical material that would teach them about how experience is located in the body, from cellular experience all the way through more broad expression of the experience. Our faculty have established 5 very important outcomes that we infuse in all of our coursework individually, and that spans the arc of our curricula in general. And those 5 outcomes, the first one is about getting a strong theoretical orientation so that students are able to talk about what they know, how they know, what they know, and also to apply it to the historical roots of the field. So they're not just intuitively informed, but they're also theoretically informed, and those 2 things work together. The second one is skills, and clinical skills in particular. So they're able to actually apply a skill and know what the skill is. They're able to be evaluated on the skill and improve the skill through a feedback process with teachers, with faculty, with clinical mentors that we have that come into their sites actually and give them direct feedback about the use of somatic skills in their treatment of clients. The third skill that we train is one that has to do with service and diversity, and we're supporting clients in not just being an academic institution that goes into communities and says, here's what we know and here's how we're going to apply it, but to be able to go into a community and listen to what they need and how they need to hear it, and to have a dialogue that's less oppressive and more egalitarian. It's a very strong part of our program. The fourth one has to do with mindfulness and contemplative practice, which is also infused in all of our courses, and they have one course in particular that goes over 2 semesters where they learn about still-based forms of mindfulness practice where they're sitting and tracking their thought process and their experiential process. And then we have another course where they are able to translate that out into movement and have it be more of a process where they give form to their internal process. The fifth one has to do with professional identity. And the professional identity application is, who am I as a professional? And am I able to step into that? We think of it more of a persona or role. Can I step into that persona or role and not lose who I am as an individual? And we find that sometimes people struggle with, I want to be me and I want to be real and I want to be authentic, or I have to be this professional and be fake and kind of be in this identity. But we really focus on having both. How do you say what you do in 15 words or less to somebody who needs to know what it is that you do? And we have a lot of activities from the first year all the way through the 3rd year that prepare people to articulate theoretical orientation, to give examples, to go from example to theory, to go from theory to example, to translate our somatic words out into more general psychology terms. So there's a lot of facility with that because we want people to succeed, and we want them to do it without diluting the somatic concentration and the focus that we train in our department. The career outcomes that our students have are the same kind of career outcomes that would happen to somebody who has a great training in counseling psychology. So they get all of the verbal skills, they get the group skills, they get the kind of skills that people need to work in community mental health, to work in agencies. They learn all those things through the combination of our curricula and the internship experience that they have. So they're getting all of that. They also have the added bonus of being able to track things non-verbally, to be able to introduce experiential interventions, and really to be able to bring themselves as an embodied practitioner into relationship with the communities, with the individuals, couples, or families that they're working with, so that there's a very alive interaction. And in a way, the way we frame it is they're getting a 2-for-1 education. They're getting all the verbal skills they need to succeed in a variety of clinical and non-clinical practice settings, as well as the somatic interventions that are going to help them make those things come alive in pretty vital and energizing ways. We have alumni working in a broad cross-section of employment venues. We have alumni working in graduate education. We have alumni working in lots of alumni working in their own private practice. We have alumni doing international peace work in countries where there's a lot of political unrest and strife, using principles of somatic psychology in non-traditional applications that don't look like psychotherapy, but more look like community-based initiatives. We have people working in schools doing movement-based curricula or curricula with traumatized kids to help them learn about sensory processing and sensory integration and supporting them in their academic goals. We have faculty who are in doctoral training programs in clinical psychology and learning how to apply somatic principles to more traditional kinds of clinical experiences and training. We have students and graduates who are working in inpatient treatment settings, fairly standard hospital kinds of venues, as well as who are working in community mental health centers doing everything from crisis work to residential treatment to working with specialized populations. In particular, addiction treatment and eating disorders tend to lend themselves very well to somatic theoretical perspectives. Naropa graduate psych education is truly transformative, and that people who are here will touch and be touched by the experience that they have here and will be changed. And I was one of those people, and the experience absolutely changed my life for the better. For the somatic students, people who are drawn to the somatic psychology programs, the 2 concentrations that we have, are people that are very much interested in embodied action, that usually they have background in some kind of fitness training or sports training or theater training or yoga training. They have background in touch training, could be massage or Reiki, or they have some kind of interest in bringing the body as the primary tool of change into their therapeutic work. And so we really invite people who want to explore that path as program students in our department.